Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. The topic for today's lecture is drugs affecting uterine motility. So let's formally begin. Drugs can either act on the endometrium of the uterus or they can act on the myometrium of the uterus. Regarding the drugs which act on the endometrium of the uterus, you have already been taught those drugs. They are actually the gonadal hormones, the estrogens, the progesterones, they're antagonists as well as the antagonists. But in this lecture, we will be only concerned with those drugs which act on the myometrium. और जब drugs myometrium पे act करती हैं, they will either increase the contractility of the uterus or they will decrease the contractility of the uterus, or they will relax the uterine musculature. You might remember, or you should try to brainstorm and come up with the answers while you listen to the lecture. कौन से receptors हैं या autonomic जब हम बात करते हैं receptors की, तो कौन से receptors हैं जो आप already पढ़ चुके हैं या you've been taught about those receptors which are located in the uterine musculature. Can you think of all those autonomic receptors जो uterine musculature में हैं? Regarding the cholinereceptors, you might have guessed it or you might not have. Muscarinic receptors जो M3 receptors हैं वो myometrium में होते हैं. और regarding the adrenergic receptors, primarily तो beta 2 adrenergic receptors होते हैं, लेकिन कुछ conditions में especially during the later trimester of pregnancy alpha 1 receptors की भी prominence होती है. So ये थे वो एक थोड़ा सा recall या आपको आपकी knowledge को थोड़ा सा refresh करने के लिए आपको बताया गया कि यूट्राइन मस्कुलेचर में की बहुत अच्छी एक बड़ी ही कह सकते हैं कि प्रोमिनेंट ऑटोनॉमिक रिसेप्टर्स प्रोमिनेंटली मौजूद होते हैं, और वो ड्रग्स जो कि इन रिसेप्टर्स पे एक्ट करती हैं एज एन एगोनिस्ट और एंटागोनिस्ट कैन हैव अ डेफिनेटिव इफेक्ट ऑन द कॉन्ट्रैक्टिलिटी ऑफ द यूट्रस. सो लेट्स कीप दिस थिंग इन माइंड. जब हम आगे पढ़ेंगे तो दिस कॉन्सेप्ट विल रियली बी वेरी हेल्पफुल. सो जब ड्रग्स मोटिलिटी की बात करते हैं, यूट्राइन मोटिलिटी की बात करते हैं, तो वी ओनली टॉक अबाउट दोस ड्रग्स व्हिच विल हैव इम्पैक्ट ऑन द मायोमेट्रियम. और मायोमेट्रियम में भी हम उन ड्रग्स की बात भी करेंगे जो कि ऑटोनॉमिक रिसेप्टर्स पे एक्ट करती हैं. बट अदर देन द ड्रग्स व्हिच एक्ट ऑन मायोमेट्रियम ऑन द ऑटोनॉमिक रिसेप्टर्स, देयर आर आल्सो अदर ड्रग्स or other hormones in the body जो myometrium में एक्ट करते हैं. Can you think of any such hormone? Yes, oxytocin is one such hormone जो कि is released from the posterior pituitary but has its prominent effects in the uterine musculature. So not just the drugs with autonomic effects, but which drugs जो selective हैं for their action on the myometrium of the uterus will also be discussed in detail in this lecture. So motility की जब बात करेंगे तो आप बात करेंगे drugs जो कि myometrium पे act करती हैं. Okay. हमारे फिर लर्निंग ऑब्जेक्टिव्स क्या होंगे? प्राइमरीली हमारा लेक्चर वुड बी डिवाइडेड इनटू टू सेक्शंस, जिसमें वी विल इन द बिगिनिंग और इन द फर्स्ट हाफ ऑफ द लेक्चर वी विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट दोस ड्रग्स व्हिच इंक्रीज द यूट्राइन कॉन्ट्रैक्शन एंड मोटिलिटी. और जो ड्रग्स यूट्राइन कॉन्ट्रैक्शंस को मोटिलिटी और कॉन्ट्रैक्शंस को इंक्रीज करती हैं, नेचुरली दे विल हैव अ रोल in induction and augmentation of labor, in controlling PPH, which is postpartum hemorrhage, and in some cases they can be helpful in induction of abortion. ये सब चीजें हम डिटेल में पढ़ेंगे. But for now, please keep this thing in mind that labor is a physiological process which is meant to expel the products of conception. ठीक है, जब टाइम gestational टाइम पूरा होता है तो this normal physiological process kicks in, and it has two basic components. The first component is powerful, strong uterine contractions, and the second component is cervical ripening, which is followed by cervical dilatation. So contraction of uterus and dilatation of cervix are the two components जिसमें आपकी which are basically composes the normal natural labor. इन दोनों components में से किसी भी component में अगर deficiency हो, regardless of the reasons, that is when the drugs which will affect the uterine motility and cervix की ripening, वहाँ पे आपकी ये जो drugs जो आप इस लेक्चर में पढ़ेंगे, वहाँ पे इन drugs का यूज सामने आता है. तो नॉर्मली जो प्रोसेस हो रहा है लेबर का, उसमें तो नॉर्मल बॉडी में ऑक्सीटोसिन भी रिलीज हो रही है, नॉर्मली प्रोजेस्टेरॉन्स भी हार्मोन्स भी रिलीज हो रहे हैं, प्रोस्टाग्लैंडिन्स भी रिलीज हो रहे हैं. बट if due to any reason अगर a normal process of labor is slow or arrested या cervical बेसमेंट नहीं हो रही, सर्वाइकल राइपनिंग नहीं हो रही, तो there comes the role of the drugs, which we will be discussing in this lecture, and these drugs are meant to increase the contraction and motility. Then in the second half of the lecture, we will be discussing the drugs which will have the exact opposite effect, which are going to decrease the contraction and motility. Or zahir hai, when they will decrease the contraction and motility, they are naturally going to arrest preterm labor and preterm delivery. So let's discuss all these drugs in a bit of detail. तो वो जो दो ग्रुप्स जिनकी हमने अभी बात की थी, उनको हम ग्रुप ए को we will be naming oxytocic drugs, and group B will be labeled as tocolytic drugs. Oxytocic drugs, again, as क्योंकि oxytocin receptors आपको पता हो, आप already जानते हैं कि oxytocin hormone is meant to increase uterine contraction motility. So हर वो drug जो uterine contraction and motility को increase करती है, that is labeled as an oxytocic drug. और हर वो ड्रग जो कि डिक्रीज करती है मोटिलिटी और यूट्राइन मसल्स को रिलैक्स करती है, दैट इज लेबल्ड एज अ टोकोलिटिक ड्रग. सो दीज टू ग्रुप्स आर गोइंग टू बी वेयर वी विल बी हेडिंग नाउ, एंड वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग दीज टू ग्रुप्स. सो पहले हम बात करेंगे ऑक्सीटोसिक ड्रग्स की. लेकिन कुछ जनरल प्रिंसिपल्स बिफोर वी टॉक अबाउट द ऑक्सीटोसिक ड्रग्स इन डिटेल. प्लीज कीप दिस थिंग इन माइंड. ये जितनी भी drugs, whenever we talk about uterine motility, we always talk about those drugs which will act on the myometrium. All these drugs which act on the uterine myometrium, they will either increase or decrease the motility, and naturally they will have important therapeutic applications, like just to say in the previous slide, some of the therapeutic applications were mentioned, and we will also be talking about them later in the lecture. Like you can induce and augment labor with these drugs. They can be helpful in postpartum hemorrhage and abortions. So these drugs have important applications. And again, something which I've already discussed with you, कि ये drugs या तो direct बहुत selective होंगी for uterine musculature. They are not going to have effect elsewhere in the body. But these drugs also will be belonging to this category, autonomic drugs. ये alpha-1, beta-2, muscarinic receptors पे भी act करेंगी, and you might know the M3 receptors या beta-2 receptors are not just present in the uterus, but they are also present elsewhere in the body. So this group of drugs, जब uterine motility के लिए आप use करेंगे, तो they are also going to have other effects or other adverse effects because they are not just specific or selective for uterus. And another important principle which must be kept in mind throughout the lecture is that the myometrium is more responsive to these drugs towards the end of gestation, towards the second or third trimester, or when the levels of estrogen in the body are higher. So the responsiveness of myometrium is also very much affected by the hormonal and gestational age. Okay. So the first group is that of oxytocic drugs, जिनको हम uterine stimulants और body efficients भी कहते हैं. Classification, it's not actually classification, it's just enlisting the drugs which can be used for this purpose. The purpose क्या है? To increase the uterine motility and contractions of the uterus. Drugs कौन-कौन सी use हो सकती हैं? Of course, oxytocin, which is a normal hormone, natural hormone, which is produced in the body, but can also be administered exogenously. Then there are ergot alkaloids. Ergot alkaloids have also been taught separately. इसमें हम just review करेंगे इसका, but not all ergot alkaloids are meant for this purpose. Only ergometrine or ergotamine are two ergots जो यहाँ पे use होते हैं. उसके अलावा prostaglandin analogs. Prostaglandin again has also been taught separately, and we will be just quickly reviewing this in this lecture. Prostaglandins also have a very key role playing in the normal process of labor. इसको भी हम detail में देखेंगे. Then in miscellaneous agents, we have listed quinine here. Quinine भी आपको recently पढ़ाई जा चुकी है. Quinine is an anti-malarial drug. और इसके बारे में आपसे इतना याद रखिए कि quinine has this potential of causing uterine contractions, particularly in the third trimester of pregnancy. The uterus is very much sensitive to the effects of quinine. So quinine, if given to a pregnant lady, can bring about uterine contractions and delivery of the baby. So ये वो सारी drugs हैं जो कि oxytocic drugs कहलाती हैं, and why they are called so? Because they all have the potential to increase the uterine motility. We will be discussing all of them in detail. Again, it's still another way of enlisting them. Oxytocin है, prostaglandins है, ergots है, and miscellaneous में we have quinine. So the chemistry of oxytocin is something that you have been taught a number of times before. So you know, it's a nonapeptide, उसमें disulfide link है. इसकी chemistry पे हम इतना नहीं अभी जाएंगे, लेकिन आपको ये पता है, आप जानते हैं कि it is a hormone which is actually produced in the hypothalamus but stored in the posterior pituitary, और वहाँ पे along with another hormone, vasopressin or antidiuretic hormone, it is released. This is the normal physiological release, the normal physiological synthesis, but it is also prepared synthetically. और हम यहाँ पे जो बात कर रहे हैं वो हम ऑक्सीटोसिन के इंजेक्शंस की या ऑक्सीटोसिन की सिंथेटिक प्रिपरेशंस की बात करेंगे. तो जो ऑक्सीटोसिन की सिंथेटिक प्रिपरेशंस होती हैं, they have some very good pharmacokinetic advantages. It has a very good pharmacokinetic profile, especially half-life is very short. So if you administer an injection of oxytocin to a lady, a pregnant lady, the effect will wane off very quickly in just few minutes because of rapid degradation in liver and kidney. Remember that oxytocin is never given orally. Whenever you administer oxytocin to a pregnant lady, for any purpose, like for example, for induction or for augmentation of labor, you always administer it intravenously or intramuscularly. Sometimes, in some conditions, intranasal sprays are also indicated, but it can never be given orally. Okay. So effects क्या हो सकते हैं यूट्रस में? ऑक्सीटोसिन के इफेक्ट्स वही हैं जो फिजियोलॉजिकल ऑक्सीटोसिन के इफेक्ट्स हैं यूट्रस में, वही इफेक्ट्स जो आप कमर्शियली प्रिपेयर करते हैं उसके भी वही इफेक्ट्स हैं. You might already know that oxytocin does not affect the uterus in the early trimesters of pregnancy, or it has no effect on the non-pregnant uterus. But as the pregnancy progresses and as the estrogen levels rise in the body, these estrogens, they kind of sensitize the uterus to oxytocin. And how does this sensitization take place? Oxytocin ke receptors are increased by the levels of estrogen. So estrogen increases the oxytocin receptors towards the third trimester. And when there will be more of oxytocin receptors, of course, there will be more of oxytocin effect. So if you administer oxytocin to a lady who is in her first trimester of pregnancy, oxytocin is going to have no effect at all. However, a lady who is administered it towards the end of gestation, of course, is going to have a dramatic effect, is going to undergo a dramatic effect. और dramatic effect क्या होगा? Frequency as well as force, both these things, frequency as well as force of contraction of uterus is increased as a result of oxytocin. In normal therapeutic doses, it produces rhythmic contractions. Rhythmic से हम ये मतलब लेते हैं कि there is contraction which alternates with relaxation. Continuous contraction या sustained contraction नहीं होती. However, आप जब डोज बढ़ाते जाते हैं या towards the later stages of labor, हायर डोजेज जो बॉडी में भी रिलीज हो रही हैं या आप भी अगर एक्सोजेनसली दे रहे हैं तो सस्टेन्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्शंस हो सकती हैं व्हिच आर नॉट डिजायरेबल. सस्टेन्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्शंस का मतलब ये है कि देयर इज नो रिलैक्सेशन इन बिटवीन, देयर इज कंटिन्यूअस कॉन्ट्रैक्शन. एंड व्हेन देयर इज कंटिन्यूअस कॉन्ट्रैक्शन, you might deduce that sustained contractions का मतलब ये है कि umbilical blood flow compromise हो रहा है, fetal blood supply compromise हो रही है. तो sustained contractions is never a good idea. So you always administer oxytocin in a normal therapeutic dose. High doses में sustained contractions can be hazardous because they can compromise the uteroplacental blood flow. ये तो normal ही क्या कर रही है ऑक्सीटोसिन जब आप इसको exogenously administer करते हैं. यूट्रस में ये इफेक्ट्स हैं, बट बाकी ऑर्गन्स पे भी इसके इफेक्ट्स हैं. समथिंग दैट यू हैव ऑलरेडी बीन टॉट इन फिजियोलॉजी. ब्रेस्ट में जहाँ पे ये मायोमेट्रियम में इसके इफेक्ट्स हैं, वहाँ पे इसी तरह मायोएपिथेलियल ऑफ द मेमोरी एल्वेलाई में भी इसके इफेक्ट्स हैं. And this is what is called the milk ejection reflex, which is initiated by the suckling of an infant. And this is why perhaps this injection of oxytocin is administered to cows and buffaloes before a farmer milks the cow. So oxytocin, because it brings about the milk ejection reflex. इस वजह से इसको exogenously animals में भी administer किया जाता है. Cardiovascular effect बहुत prominent नहीं है, but higher doses में yes, it can cause vasodilatation and of course hypotension and reflex tachycardia. And of course, in higher doses, it can also have antidiuretic-like effects. And when we have any ADH-like actions, urine output is decreased. So इसके जो main effects आपको ज़हन में रखने हैं वो हैं the effects on uterus and the effects on breast. So it's just summarizing the physiology of oxytocin and also the pharmacological effects. क्योंकि pharmacological effects भी are same as that of physiological effects. Uterus में uterine contractions and myoepithelial cells में milk ejection. Now, so far you have learned about that it can be administered exogenously, it can be prepared exogenously, and it has good pharmacokinetic profile. A more question kya hai? How does it bring about the uterine contraction that it is bringing about? How does it increase the force of contraction or the frequency of uterine contraction? It acts on the oxytocin receptors, and oxytocin receptors belong to the G protein coupled receptor family. Or usme bhi it belongs to the GQ protein coupled receptor family. So whenever oxytocin comes and binds with its receptor, the GQ protein is activated, and in turn it activates the phospholipase C, and eventually this cascade of IP3 and diacylglycerol IP3-DAG ka jo pura cascade hai, that is activated. This whole of secondary messenger system of IP3-DAG is activated, which eventually causes an increase in intracellular calcium, and whenever there is increase in intracellular calcium, there is pronounced contraction. So oxytocin receptors, GQ coupled proteins, IP3 and diacylglycerol cascade is activated, building up of intracellular calcium, and myometrial contracts. Individual muscle fibers contract karenge aur phir the whole of the uterine musculature is going to contract. So this was about its mode of action. यहाँ पे वही सब कुछ explain किया हुआ है. It has just been described over here. But another thing which must also be remembered while we talk about its mode of action is that it also stimulates the synthesis and release of prostaglandins. And prostaglandins, you should also be knowing this, that prostaglandins also have a very key role in the normal physiological labor. They also serve to augment the contraction of uterus. Not only oxytocin is having a direct effect on the uterine contractility, but it is also having an indirect effect by promoting the release of prostaglandins, which in turn are also affecting uterine contractility. तो खुद भी वो uterine contractions कर रहा है, prostaglandins को release करके भी uterine contractions को increase कर रहा है, augment कर रहा है. This is just a diagrammatic representation of what I've just explained. Oxytocin stimulates uterus to contract and also stimulates placenta to make prostaglandins, and prostaglandins in turn are going to further increase oxytocin, and this is a positive feedback and it goes on and in the normal physiological process of labor. तो जब हम बात करेंगे ड्रग्स की, तो हम यहाँ पे जब ऑक्सीटोसिक ड्रग्स की हम जब की बात कर रहे हैं, तो हम यहाँ पे भी प्रोमिनेंटली ऑक्सीटोसिन की बात करेंगे और हम प्रोस्टाग्लैंडिन्स की. यही जो नेचुरली बॉडी में रिलीज हो रही हैं, यही दोनों चीजें ऑक्सीटोसिन एंड प्रोस्टाग्लैंडिन्स can be prepared exogenously and can be administered to the patient if she is suffering from a delayed or slow progress of labor. Moving on. अब आपने patient पर समझ लिया कि ये इसका mode of action क्या है और कहाँ से release हो रहा है और pharmacokinetics क्या है. Therapeutic uses की अब हम बात करेंगे. Induction of labor and induction and augmentation of labor is give primary uses. Then PPH, another important use, जिसको हम postpartum uterine hemorrhage या PPH भी कहते हैं. Then in some conditions, in some cases of abortion, they can be used. This oxytocin can be used, and very rarely in impaired milk ejection में भी इसका role है. But talking about these therapeutic uses, before we talk about these therapeutic uses, oxytocin की कुछ advantages पे let's have a quick look at the advantages. Why oxytocin and why not ergots or why not prostaglandins? Why are they preferred over other drugs as the why are they the drug of choice for these indications? Why? Because as I've already mentioned, they have a short half-life. और जिस चीज short half-life होती है, उसका action बहुत quickly terminate किया जा सकता है. So this is a very good advantage. And you can always control, अगर आप इसको drip में डाल रहे हैं, you can always control the amount of drug that you are administering. आप continuously उसके drops monitor कर सकते हैं. It is easy. इसकी administration को you can easily monitor. It has a short half-life. Action can be terminated. And in normal therapeutic doses, it causes very rhythmic contraction of the uterus. And the rhythmic contractions is what is desired, because in that case, the uteroplacental blood flow is not compromised and fetal oxygenation does not suffer. So there are so many advantages of this drug, and that is why oxytocin is the drug of choice for most of these clinical indications that we have just talked about. Induction and augmentation of labor. Augmentation of labor is needed once a lady whose normal labor has initiated, but somehow it is not progressing well. It is delayed progress of labor है. तो आप लेबर के प्रोसेस को थोड़ा सा इंक्रीज करना चाहते हैं या स्पीड अप करना चाहते हैं, फैसिलिटेट करना चाहते हैं, तो इन दोस कंडीशन इट इज इंडिकेटेड. बट इन सम कंडीशंस लेबर हैज नॉट इनिशिएटेड बाय इटसेल्फ, रादर आप लेबर के प्रोसेस को इनिशिएट ही करते हैं बाय द एक्सोजेनस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ ऑक्सीटोसिन, एंड इट डज नॉट हैपन ऑलवेज. ये तभी होगा जब एक खातून जो है वो अपनी पोस्ट मैच्योरिटी पे पहुंच चुकी है. नॉर्मल जो लेबर की ड्यूरेशन है वो है normally the labor it begins at about 37 weeks to about until about 42 weeks. 37 to 42 weeks is the normal time slot where the normal process of labor starts. But अगर किसी वजह से until 42 weeks labor का process start नहीं हुआ, तो this lady can always be a good candidate for oxytocin administration. कि labor जो normally 42 weeks तक start हो चुकी होनी थी, वो नहीं start हुई. But there are also certain conditions listed here, like toxemia, pregnancy, erythroblastosis, diabetic mothers, ruptured membranes. ये वो conditions हैं which pose a threat to the mother and the baby, threat to the life of mother and the baby. तो ये वो कंडीशन है जब आप चाहते हैं कि लेबर इंड्यूस करें आप, अगर नेचुरली नहीं हो रही, सो दैट द बेबी इज डिलीवर्ड. सो पोस्ट मैच्योरिटी हो या थ्रेट हो कोई किसी किस्म का टू द लाइफ ऑफ मदर एंड बेबी, ऑक्सीटोसिन इज इंडिकेटेड. नाउ हाउ डू यू गिव oxytocin when you are inducing and augmenting labor? Normally it is always calibrated in units, and it is administered in a saline or a dextrose solution, and the number of drops. And infusion, मैंने जैसे आपको पहले बताया था कि इसकी बहुत बड़ी advantage है कि you can always control the infusion rate. So normally you start off with a very slow rate, and gradually and slowly you progress to a higher dose, and you always monitor the response. Uterine contractions को भी आप देख रहे होते हैं, और fetal heart rate को भी आप monitor कर रहे होते हैं. Induction of labor, contractions, fetal heart rate, and all these things are continuously monitored while you administer oxytocin for induction and augmentation of labor. Now, कुछ important चीजें जो आपको as a obstetrician or as a doctor, these certain things that you must always look for before you administer oxytocin. And वो चीजें क्या हो सकती हैं? If there is malpresentation of fetal parts, of course you are not going to administer oxytocin to such a patient. या फिर cephalopelvic disproportion, which is the disproportion between the parts of the fetus which are presenting and the pelvic outlet, because this particular problem can pose a lot of difficulty in normal vaginal delivery. If the fetal lungs are not mature, why would you give or induce or augment labor? Any condition, placenta previa. Placenta previa is another obstetrical complication. Placenta is located in a very lower segment of the uterus, and while the normal contractions take place, while the normal process of labor takes place, वो placenta जो है जो बिल्कुल lower segment पे पड़ा हुआ है, it can rupture or it can bleed profusely. So this is an obstetric complication. So ये सारी वो condition अगर maternal या fetal distress है या कोई भी इस किस्म की condition like disproportion की condition या malpresentation की condition है, so you would never give oxytocin to oxytocin in such case. प्लीज ये कॉन्ट्राइंडिकेशन ज़हन में रखिएगा, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट स्लाइड है इस लेक्चर की. Then we talked about induction and augmentation of labor. Now we talk about another important clinical use, postpartum hemorrhage. Postpartum hemorrhage is the bleeding, is a profuse amount of bleeding, जो कि right after the delivery of a baby it takes place, and around 1 liter of blood may be lost in first 24 hours after delivery. So postpartum hemorrhage को control करने के लिए we have multiple options, but oxytocin is the drug of choice. And about 5 minutes आप दे सकते हैं, IM दे सकते हैं, start भी दे सकते हैं. And what it does is that by contracting the uterine musculature, it also compresses the blood vessels, the perforating uterine arteries. And when these blood vessels are compressed, naturally there is going to be no bleeding, or the hemorrhage is going to be arrested. So ये 3 clinical indications: induction and augmentation of labor, postpartum hemorrhage. Sometimes abortion जो है अगर वो inevitable है, incomplete है, और uterine contractions नहीं हो रही, but the baby has to be aborted. In those conditions, you can administer oxytocin, but please make note of this fact that abortions में oxytocin is administered only in the second trimester or the third trimester में जो baby का loss होता है, सिर्फ वहाँ पे administer की जाती है. In the first trimester or in the middle trimester prefer किया जाता है prostaglandins को for abortion, लेकिन in the later half of the pregnancy, yes, oxytocin can be used. Breast engorgement एक और इसका क्लिनिकल यूज है, लेकिन ब्रेस्ट एंगॉर्जमेंट के बहुत सारे रीजंस हो सकते हैं, लेकिन अगर रीजन इनएफिशिएंट मिल्क इंजेक्शन है, in those conditions you can administer intranasal spray of oxytocin. The 5 clinical indications are induction augmentation of labor, postpartum hemorrhage, some cases of abortion, especially in the later phase of second trimester, and breast engorgement. Adverse effects यही होंगे कि अगर आप बहुत ही एक्सेसिवली ऑक्सीटोसिन दे रही हैं और उसको प्रॉपर्ली उसकी डोज को मॉनिटर नहीं कर रही हैं, हाई डोजेस में दे रही हैं, तो यू कैन कॉज मैटरनल और सीवियर मैटरनल सॉफ्ट टिश्यू इंजरीज, प्लेसेंटल रप्चर, यूट्राइन रप्चर, जाहिर है बहुत ज़्यादा यूट्राइन कॉन्ट्रैक्शंस हो रही हैं. So then water intoxication is another adverse effect. Again ये बात भी पहले डिस्कस हो चुकी है कि हाइपोटेंशन, वाटर इंटॉक्सिकेशन एंड हाइपोटेंशन अगर हाई डोजेस में दे रहे हैं, और अगर आप इसको ये भी याद रखिएगा कि ऑक्सीटोसिन की एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन हमेशा स्लोली इन्फ्यूजन फॉर्म होती है, कभी भी इसका बोलस आईवी स्टार्ट इंजेक्शन नहीं लगता, बिकॉज इट कैन कॉज सीवियर हाइपोटेंशन. सो प्लीज कीप दिस थिंग इन माइंड कि यूट्राइन मोटिलिटी में एक इंपॉर्टेंट ड्रग ऑक्सीटोसिन जो इंडक्शन और ऑगमेंटेशन ऑफ लेबर के लिए यूज होती है, उसको हमेशा हम स्लो आईवी इन्फ्यूजन में देते हैं, एंड नेवर इन बोलस डोजिंग. ठीक है. कॉन्ट्राइंडिकेशंस आप खुद भी एक लिस्ट तैयार कर सकते हैं. अब अगर आपको कुछ समझ आ चुकी है अब तक कि मैटरनल या फीटल डिस्ट्रेस में आप नहीं देते, या किसी भी स्पेशली अगर फीटल मैल प्रेजेंटेशन है या पेल्विक डिस्पोर्शन है, इन कंडीशंस में ऑक्सीटोसिन इज नेवर एडमिनिस्टर्ड. प्रोस्टाग्लैंडिन्स को हम क्विकली देखेंगे क्योंकि इनका हमारा आपका लेक्चर सेपरेटली हो चुका है. प्रोस्टाग्लैंडिन्स में कौन कौन से प्रोस्टाग्लैंडिन्स हैं जिनका इफेक्ट है यूट्रस में, वो है प्रोस्टाग्लैंडिन E2, F2 एंड 15 मिथाइल प्रोस्टाग्लैंडिन F2. यहाँ पे याद रखने की बात ये है कि जहाँ पे ऑक्सीटोसिन, जिसको भी हमने रिसेंटली डिस्कस किया था, अभी डिस्कस किया है, हम कहते हैं कि इज अ ड्रग ऑफ चॉइस फॉर इंडक्शन एंड ऑगमेंटेशन ऑफ लेबर एंड एज वेल एज फॉर पोस्टपार्टम हेमरेज. प्रोस्टाग्लैंडिन्स भी काम तो वही कर रहे हैं, दे आर आल्सो promoting uterine motility and contractions. However, they are not the drug of choice for induction and augmentation of labor, although they can be used, and they are used for induction and augmentation of labor, and they're also used for postpartum hemorrhage. But because of their high cost and a large number of adverse effects, which you have already been taught, इस तरह से they're not preferred over oxytocin. हाँ, oxytocin available ना हो या oxytocin किसी वजह से indicated ना हो, तो then you can go for prostaglandins. Otherwise, the drug of choice would be oxytocin. However, these prostaglandins are a very good choice for cervical ripening. Normally, as I've already told you, that the normal physiological process of labor has 2 components: contraction of uterus and cervical ripening and cervical dilatation. If cervical ripening does not take place properly, there is not going to be good cervical dilatation. So ये भी component बहुत important है, और cervical ripening में prostaglandins have a very important role to play. So in this particular scenario, prostaglandins are very much indicated, and in certain cases abortion, especially जो prostaglandins हैं, they have a very good role in the termination of early pregnancies. जो first trimester and the second trimester के भी शुरू में जो abortions होती हैं, चाहे वो मिस्ड अबॉर्शंस हैं या चाहे वो कोई मोलर प्रेगनेंसी की वजह से कोई और पैथोलॉजीज हैं, in those conditions, especially in the early in the first trimester abortions, prostaglandins have a very important role to play. और इसकी डिटेल्स यहाँ पे कुछ आपको थोड़ी सी डिटेल्स of the 2-3 drugs which are very much used for these indications यहाँ पे mentioned है. One is dinoprostone, carboprostone, and misoprostone. All these 3 drugs, when we talk about effects of uses of prostaglandins in obstetrics, तो ये 3 drugs के नाम आप ज़हन में ज़रूर रखिएगा, dinoprostone और इनके uses. ये dinoprostone particularly cervical ripening या softening of cervix के लिए indicated होती है. This carboprostone is preferred for postpartum hemorrhage control, although the drug of choice क्या है oxytocin, but it can be an alternate choice. Misoprostol, which again एक ऐसी drug है जिसके और भी बहुत सारे indication uses आप पढ़ चुके हैं. For example, ये बहुत सारे pain killers के साथ combination में आती है to prevent the risk of acid peptic disease. This also is used for termination of very early pregnancies. Pregnancies as early as up to 7 weeks can be terminated with the help of this drug. So prostaglandins के बारे में, the key thing to remember is that they are a good choice for being used as for being used in various obstetric conditions, obstetric indications. लेकिन the drug of choice would be oxytocin. और दूसरा इसमें ये ज़हन में रखिएगा कि they are preferred in conditions where cervical ripening is required and not in conditions where induction and augmentation of labor is required. Okay, so that's so much so for prostaglandins. Now moving on to the third group of oxytocin drugs. अभी तक हमने oxytocin पढ़ी है, prostaglandins पढ़ी है, और अब हम ergots को डिस्कस करेंगे. डिस्कस भी नहीं करेंगे बल्कि क्विक रिव्यू करेंगे. तो ये जो तीनों ग्रुप्स हैं, ये तीनों के तीनों ग्रुप्स जो हैं, ये ऑक्सीटोसिक ड्रग्स की कैटेगरी में आते हैं. एड्रेस आप लोग ऑलरेडी जानते हैं और इसका लेक्चर भी आप सेपरेटली आपका हो चुका है. तो आप यू माइट रिमेम्बर, सॉरी, एड्रेस के बारे में आपको इतना ज़हन में रखना चाहिए कि एड्रेस, क्योंकि बहुत सारी एग्जांपल्स हैं, लेकिन इसमें से सिर्फ एर्गोनामीन और एर्गोटामीन वो 2 एड्रेस हैं जो कि यूट्राइन स्मूथ मस्कुलेशन, स्मूथ मसल्स के लिए स्पेसिफिक हैं. और why? Because they have these effects on the 5-HT2 receptors and also they have effects on the alpha-1 receptors. Alpha-1 receptors और 5-HT2 receptors पे इफेक्ट की वजह से एड्रेस यूज हो सकते हैं. लेकिन याद रखने की बात ये है इसमें कि they should never be given before delivery. Ergots, चाहे आप ergotamine ले रहे हैं या ergotamine ले रहे हैं, they are only indicated for postpartum hemorrhage, and even in that condition they are not the first choice. First choice is oxytocin, second choice is ergots, second choice is prostaglandins, and third choice would be ergots. Or you never give them before delivery. Why? Because they cause powerful and sustained uterine contraction, uterine spasm हो सकता है, जिसकी वजह से fetal morbidity के risk बहुत बढ़ जाते हैं. So please keep this in mind that ergots are a good choice for are a third choice drug for PPH, but never should they be given before delivery. Now coming to the second section of the lecture, tocolytics. So far we have discussed oxytocin drugs, and now we will be talking about those drugs which have the exact opposite effect, जिसमें हमारे पास जिनको हम tocolytics बोलते हैं. Because and why tocos? Because this word has a Greek origin. Tocos is childbirth and it is capable of dissolving. So the drugs which can arrest the process of childbirth are called tocolytic drugs. अभी कैसे करती हैं इसमें अभी आप देखेंगे कि जो ड्रग्स हैं in this particular group, they are belonging to various chemical groups और आपस में बिल्कुल related नहीं है, इसमें calcium channel blockers भी होंगे, beta adrenergic drugs भी होंगी, but they all ultimately slow down the contraction of a pregnant uterus. This thing is sometimes very crucial. Preterm labor and preterm delivery is a very well-known complication or well-known issue in obstetrics. तो अगर ये initiate हो जाए तो tocolytics is that group of drug which comes in very handy in those conditions. And if you administer tocolytics in the right appropriate dose, you can buy time for fetal maturation. You can buy time for initiation of glucocorticoid therapy, which is very important for fetal lung maturation. And you can always buy time for your laboring mother to go to a better center, a better hospital with proper health facilities. So tocolytics का इस लिहाज से बहुत important crucial role है in preventing preterm labor and preterm deliveries. However, preterm labor को you should not always prevent. You should not always administer tocolytics. There are certain contraindications to the use of tocolytics. For example, if the fetus is age of gestational age is more than 34 weeks, then they are not required. And also, if the cervical dilatation is more than 4 centimeters, cervical dilatation at 10 centimeters तक maximum होती है, and that is when the delivery takes place. If it is more than 4 centimeters, then there is no proven efficacy or role of administering tocolytics at that time. It is going to be useless. And then there is a number of health conditions or complications of pregnancy which are related both with the mother as well as with the fetus. For example, infections hai, agar infection hai of the amniotic membranes, if there is pregnancy-induced hypertension, if there is eclampsia, if there is cardiac disease of mother, if there is fetal distress, in all these conditions, naturally and consequentially, the use of tocolytics is going to do more harm than good. So sometimes preterm delivery is preferred rather than preventing preterm delivery. So tocolytics क्या करते हैं, कैसे करते हैं, ये भी हम देखेंगे, लेकिन please ये ध्यान में रखिएगा कि tocolytics is a very good option, but it should not be always used. Contraindications को ध्यान में रखिएगा. जैसे पहले बताया कि diverse group है, इसमें beta agonists भी हैं, calcium channel blockers भी हैं, oxytocin के antagonists भी हैं, और कुछ और drugs हैं like COX inhibitors, inhalation anesthetics. अब हम इनको quickly देखेंगे. एक फिगर है जो कि आपकी बहुत सारी ड्रग्स को कवर कर रही है in just one figure. It highlights so many drugs. आप सारी ड्रग्स का मोड ऑफ एक्शन जो प्रीवियस स्लाइड में लिस्ट की गई थी वहाँ यहाँ पे समझ सकते हैं. For example, beta adrenergic agonists. Beta 2 receptors are present in the uterine musculature, and you might remember कि beta 2 receptors जो हैं वो भी G stimulatory होते हैं. And by G inhibitory होते हैं, और beta 2 जब G inhibitory होते हैं तो cyclic AMP के levels कम होके ultimately uterine relaxation is caused. So जब भी कोई ऐसी drug देंगे जो beta 2 receptors को stimulate करेगी, uterine relaxation would be the result. Similarly, अगर आप calcium channel blocker दे देंगे, and you know that it is the buildup of intracellular calcium which brings about the contractility. So what if you block this incoming of calcium or influx of calcium by giving calcium channel blockers? Naturally, the result would be decreased uterine motility. And also, if you give a drug like magnesium sulfate, this is also going to do the same. It is also going to have the same mode of action. It is going to compete with the calcium ion because it is also a divalent ion. It is going to compete with calcium ion. It is not going to let the calcium move in. So calcium channel blockers दें, magnesium sulfate दें, oxytocin receptor blockers दें, या in some conditions or COX inhibitors, because once you give a COX inhibitor, for example a painkiller like indomethacin, the COX inhibitors हमेशा prostaglandins की level को कम कर देते हैं, and you have already studied that prostaglandins have a very important role in uterine contraction. Prostaglandins, the lesser the amount of prostaglandins, lesser would be the degree of contraction. So this figure is actually encompassing or is detailing various drugs which are used as tocolytics. It be beta receptor agonists, COX inhibitors, painkillers like COX inhibitors, which decrease the levels of prostaglandins, oxytocin receptor antagonists, calcium channel blockers or magnesium sulfates. Mode of action तो आप यहाँ से इस एक फिगर में सबका is very much understandable. But कुछ खास बातें, Tritodrine, albuterol and Trabuterine. You have already been taught these drugs. ये सारी की सारी are beta-2 selective agonists, and you know beta-2 receptors जब भी stimulate होते हैं, they cause relaxation in the uterus. But they are also located elsewhere. You should try to brainstorm. You should try to recall the location of beta-2 receptors elsewhere in the body. They are located in the skeletal muscles. They are located in the blood vessels, in the muscles of the blood vessels. They are also located in liver. So वहाँ पे भी जब आप beta-2 receptors देते हैं for the purpose of uterine relaxation, the beta-2 receptors elsewhere are also stimulated, and naturally this group of drug is going to have a lot of side effects. It is very successful, it is very efficacious, and it is very much the drug of choice because it delays delivery in about 70% of the cases to about a few hours, from about few hours to few weeks. लेकिन it has a number of side effects. वो side effects क्या है? वो maternal भी हो सकते हैं, वो neonatal भी हो सकते हैं. लेकिन क्योंकि ये beta-2 receptors को stimulate करें, इसलिए hypotension, tachycardia, and hyperglycemia is something which is very much understandable. And therefore, these drugs should not be should be especially contraindicated in patients of diabetes or in patients of heart disease or in patients who are already on beta blockers. So Ritodrine is, although a good choice for arresting preterm labor, but it should not be used for more than 48 hours because it has a large number of complications which may occur both in the mother as well as in the fetus or the neonate. Calcium channel blockers, the mode of action has already been explained in the figure, that it is not going to let the calcium move in, and it is also a good choice, and it is preferred over Ritodrine in certain conditions because it is easily available. Its administration oral hai, and it is very much cheaper than many other tocolytics available in the market. So oral administration hai, और patient आराम से हर 6 घंटे में repeat कर सकती है. But इसके, although it is safe, but again calcium channel blockers भी आपको इसके adverse effects भी आप इनसे वाकिफ हैं कि calcium channel blockers जब also can block the calcium channel in the blood vessels. तो जब blood vessels में calcium channel block होंगे तो the natural result would be hypotension and tachycardia. Although कि ये Ritodrine से safe हैं, but yet they can cause adverse effects. Now etociban is actually a ऑक्सीटोसिन रिसेप्टर एंटागनिस्ट. ऑक्सीटोसिन जहाँ पे मोटिलिटी को इंक्रीज कर रहा था, ये मोटिलिटी को डिक्रीज करेंगे, बट सिर्फ आईवी इन्फ्यूजन है. और ऑल्दो इट इज अ वेरी सेफ ड्रग, बट इट इज नॉट वाइडली अवेलेबल, सो इट इज नॉट देयरफॉर वेरी मच यूज्ड. हमारे पाकिस्तान में या कुछ स्पेशली इन द एशियन कंट्रीज इट इज नॉट इजीली अवेलेबल. सो राइटोड्रीन, निफेडिबिन, एटोसिबैन. नाउ नंबर 4 पे हम मैग्नीशियम सल्फेट की बात करेंगे. मैग्नीशियम सल्फेट का नाम जब भी आए जहन में याद रखिएगा, इट इज द ड्रग ऑफ चॉइस फॉर इक्लैम्पशिया एंड प्रीक्लैम्पशिया. ये क्या है, ये आप गायनी और ऑब्स्टेट्रिक्स में पढ़ भी चुके हैं या पढ़ेंगे. ये बहुत लाइफ थ्रेटनिंग कॉम्प्लिकेशन है और जिसमें पेशेंट प्रेजेंट्स विद हाइपरटेंशन एंड फिट्स, सीजर्स एंड अ लार्ज नंबर ऑफ अदर कॉम्प्लिकेशंस. मैग्नीशियम सल्फेट ड्रग ऑफ चॉइस है, बट मैग्नीशियम सल्फेट बिकॉज इट इज अ डाइवेलेंट, इट कंटेन्स अ डाइवेलेंट मैग्नीशियम आयन. It competes with calcium ion, and as a result of this, it can be used as a tocolytic agent. Miscellaneous में again painkillers like indomethacin because it is a prostaglandin synthesis inhibitor, और इसी तरह से general anesthetics, halothane. Halothane in some conditions it has been used as a very efficacious uterine relaxant, और especially in कुछ जहाँ पे external internal version of the fetus, जब आपको fetus को externally मैनुअली रोटेट करना हो इन सर्टेन कंडीशन, लाइक ब्रीच प्रेजेंटेशन है तो अब जो ऑब्स्टेट्रिशियंस होते हैं वो खुद बच्चे को रोटेट करते हैं मैनुअली. तो इन दोस कंडीशंस यूट्राइन मसल्स को रिलैक्स करने के लिए हेलोथेन हैज बीन यूज्ड प्रीवियसली और अभी भी ये यूज की जाती है. सो दैट वाज ऑल अबाउट टोकोलिटिक्स. सो टोकोलिटिक्स में मोड ऑफ एक्शन कैन वेरी वेल बी एक्सप्लेन्ड बाय दैट फिगर, और थोड़े से इनकी एडवांटेज और डिसएडवांटेजेस को आप कंपेयर करें, एंड यू कैन ऑलवेज कम अप विद अ वेरी गुड आंसर. सो थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर योर पेशेंट लिसनिंग. आई विश यू वेरी गुड लक. थैंक यू एंड अल्लाह हाफिज़.